The Orange Zone, sponsored by Billy Whitaker Cars and Trucks and Apex Entertainment.
Hi, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Orange Zone podcast. This is round 2 today. We got to address it right off the top. Listen, I'm going to put it in Thanksgiving terms for you. We recorded an episode 30 minutes ago. We lost the turkey. We lost the potatoes. I mean, we basically only have the cranberry sauce left.
We have the salad, maybe like a slice of pie.
Slice of pie. Mungro will be joining us for that very short part of the episode that got saved. Everything else, gone and forgotten. Not going to get into the reasons why. The point is, we move on. Dart.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
you have
Thanksgiving.
a better start to your week than us.
Right. But we're here, and we had to do it again because it's freaking Miami week, baby.
Yeah.
There's a lot we have to talk about. SU just got over beating UConn 31-24. They won. They moved to 8-3 on the season. And just to let you all what Mungro did say, he actually said he wasn't 100% pleased. He recognized the fact that it was a win coming from them, but he thought that they could have played better football. Fair?
Fair.
He said, basically, quote, we played to their level.
Yes, that is exactly what he said. He also said that he will be having ham, mac and cheese, and sweet potato pie this Thanksgiving, in case anyone was wondering.
And he's inviting Ashley.
Ashley's invited. I didn't make the cut. But that's all right.
I don't think I really was invited, though. He got mad at me towards the end.
And he also told Ashley that she needed to pay for a plate.
I did need to pay for a plate, yes.
Pay for a plate.
Join me on CMI Central this Thanksgiving. We're a little all over the place right now. Anyway, Syracuse beat UConn. Mungro was not thrilled about it. I had a more measured, I hate to take a negative, I can't really take a negative scope. When Kyle McCord had the day that Kyle McCord had, he went 37 for 47, 470 yards, 2 touchdowns, broke the single season record for passing yards. It was one of the best Syracuse quarterback game performances in Syracuse history. So how can you be mad at that? I agree with him wholeheartedly that this team has a extreme problem with closing games and figuring out how to step on an opponent's throat. But at the end of the day, the moral of the story is they are 8-3. It is their first 8-win regular season since 2018 and just their third since 2000. And 8 wins, as much as Fran Brown and they all didn't want to say it, 8 wins does mean something around here.
It does. 8 wins is 8 wins. And again, Mungro was, he was a little negative, come to think of it today.
He was a little negative.
But I want to bring it up because I thought it was an interesting point. His, vision of that was, yes, we won 8 games, but also it was potentially 2 plays away from being 9 or maybe 10. I mean, there were a few games that were really close. Stanford should have been a win, and I'm cool to say that, man. Yeah. I mean, BC, I guess that's sort of a toss-up. But listen, it's okay if you're a Syracuse fan to wonder what the season would have been like if they won against Boston College and Stanford, which it feels like they were capable of doing, considering the fact that they beat teams like Georgia Tech, who, by the way, Miami lost to, and it's their only loss on the goddamn season.
And I will say, Syracuse, look, I know we're always here trying to pump up the optimism and pump up, but the reality of the situation is, right, you've only won 8 games 3 times since 2000. Fran Brown is able to come in and do it in his first season. Obviously, he had Kyle McCord at his quarterback, but that just isn't the whole recipe, as we've seen this season. At the end of the day, you're going into your final game of the regular season at 8-3 with a chance to be 9-3, no matter how unlikely that might be, no matter how much Miami's favored by. You have a chance to go 9-3 at the end of the season. I know Pitt was ugly. I know Boston College was ugly, but that's pretty much all you can ask for in a head coach's first year. You are looking at, I think a lot of fans around us, all Syracuse media, the top kind of prediction this year was, if everything goes right, they can go 9-3. 10-2 seemed a little lofty.
And not only 9-3, but a 9-3 that makes absolute waves.
Yes.
Through the entire conference and even in the playoff sphere for national.
Are still in a position to do it.
In the national sphere, the whole damn thing. So let's talk about what's at stake. And there's certainly a lot here, so we'll start on the Syracuse side. I'll have Ashley break down what's at stake for Miami because it's a lot. But for Syracuse, when we're thinking about what's at stake here, I think it's a few major things. If you want to talk about Fran Brown individually, it would obviously be his first top 10 win as Syracuse's head coach. Additionally, it would be his first, that's what I was going to say. But also, as a team, you're looking at recruiting. You're looking at a possibility of a better bowl game. You are looking at a 10-win season, hopes of that at least, still being alive if they won that in the bowl game, which, again, something they haven't done since 2018. There's a big difference between a 9-win regular season and an 8-win regular season when that win is against Miami. Yeah. Because it's also, honest to God, it makes me think about, the ending of the Mets and the Yankees. I know I say that a lot, but if you win this game against Miami, you are going into this offseason with such a different feeling. And God forbid, the bowl game, now all of a sudden it wasn't just a good first year at the helm for Fran coach, it was a freaking great one.
Yeah.
What about Miami?
Well, what sticks out to me first, to your point, is the bowl game. I said this when we recorded before. I'm going to say it again. Syracuse, we don't know what bowl game they're going to get yet. I think some of it does hinge on a 9-win regular season. It's a bit different than an 8-win regular season. We've seen the Gator Bowl representatives hanging around the press box. They were the only bowl in attendance last week. That is a bowl that is in Florida. It is against an SEC team. If you're Fran Brown and you're trying to make these waves in recruiting, getting the highest caliber bowl game that you can and putting yourself on whatever level of a national stage you want to say that is, obviously it's not the college football playoff, but whatever. Improving your bowl game is in your best interest to either play a notable Big Ten team or a notable SEC team for recruiting.
Most importantly, it's not the Pinstripe Bowl.
Most importantly, no one's going to Yankee Stadium. I'm not going. That's it.
I'm not going. You can't make me.
Like the Grinch in that scene. That's it. I'm not going if it's the Pinstripe game. Anyway, I will still be there if it's a Pinstripe Bowl. Just wanted to let everyone know that. Anyways,
same, but my heart will grow 3 sizes smaller.
3 sizes too small. On the Miami front, Miami has a lot to lose in this game. Syracuse, kind of playing with, Rachel made this point earlier, Syracuse, not a lot to lose. You're kind of already playing with house money in terms of if you beat Miami, you've already got 8 wins. Miami, a lot to lose in this game. If Miami does not win this game, they will not advance to the ACC title game, which is something that has been in their grasp pretty much all season long. Then they lost to Georgia Tech a week or 2 ago, and now they find themselves 10-1. SMU is locked into the ACC Championship game. Clemson will play in it if Syracuse is able to upset Miami. But Miami is not a program. Miami is not your Clemsons of the world. It's not your Florida States of the world previously. It is, Miami has taken years to build its program back to this level that it was at in the, historically. So Miami has been working as a program to put all the pieces together and to finally get there. And it seems like they are not going to want to let this one slip through their grasp with Syracuse at the end of the year.
And the way I see it, it's also not just the ACC championship. This is a team that truly has the potential right now to play in the college football playoff in its first year being expanded to 12 teams. That's something they want to freaking do. And losing this game to Syracuse could legitimately derail the whole thing, the whole operation, which is crazy and almost like sucks to say. Like if I was a Hurricanes fan, I'd be really nervous right now because it's crazy how much each of these games count. 12 teams ends up still not being a whole lot of teams. But Miami is a really good team. I think they've been as advertised, and they're not going to let Syracuse F it up if they can help it.
Syracuse has a big old chance to play spoiler right now. And I have a fact for you that I actually didn't say in our first recording.
New content.
Miami is favored by about 10.5 points in this game, depending on the site that you look at.
That's bullshit.
Each time this year when Syracuse has not been, they haven't won every game that they have not been the favorite in, but Cal was favored by 10.5 points. Syracuse went in and won that game. Syracuse likes to be an underdog. Georgia Tech was favored. Syracuse won that game.
10.5.
Just interesting.
That really has me thinking. You'll see the predictions later in the episode because those were saved on the recording, and I think you'll be interested to hear what we have to say. But before that, we want to preview this matchup a little. Now you know the big picture and what's at stake. But what about kind of moving into the matchup itself? Well, you have Kyle McCord and Cam Ward. Ward and McCord. The battle of all battles. Really, really exciting if you're someone who appreciates the sport of football to have that high caliber talent in the Dome. And it's been a really long time since we've had that, years.
And I asked Mungro, and this part was saved, you will see it. I asked him his thoughts on that. When is the last time at the Dome we've seen that caliber of 2 quarterbacks that are going on to probably have NFL careers or in the Heisman conversation, both of them at the beginning of the season, not so much anymore. McCord and Cam Ward, the nation's 2 leading passers. It is certainly going to be a shootout. I would be shocked if it wasn't. Also, both of these defenses, not really tops in the country. Both of these teams rely on their pass-first, pro-level style offense to get where they've gotten this season. I said it when we recorded the first time. I'll say it again. In many ways, Syracuse and Miami remind me. I think it's an even matchup, right? These 2 teams remind me of each other a little bit. I think for Syracuse, there's a few keys to this game. Offensively, you certainly want to be able to run with at least in the first half, you want to be able to run with Cam Ward. If you're already behind in the first half, you want to get off to that fast start. You want to be even in that race through the first half. I think Syracuse needs to finish drives. That's something that they've struggled to do all season long, right? They've struggled to put teams away, put their foot on teams' neck. I mean, even against UConn, you saw they had to settle for 2 field goals that they didn't make, and then they had to kick a third one, which they did make. So Syracuse has to finish drives with touchdowns. I don't think we're settling for field goals in this game. I don't think that's a recipe for success.
And that was actually something that we did discuss earlier. Mungro was saying, hey, I'll take the points. No. Ashley and I totally disagreed with that. And I didn't even think about this until now when we're recording again. Maybe it was a blessing in disguise. It's more fun the second time around. That they missed the field goals.
Yeah.
So it's like, why, honestly, why even take the risk? Not with this team. No offense, but really.
And Syracuse, if they are going to win this game, needs to play their top to bottom best grade A football on all fronts. That goes for defense. That goes for special teams. We've seen the special teams struggle.
Yeah. And honestly, I think if you're going for the upset, you got to take some risks. Like, yes, of course, everybody wants it to be a close game, but I don't think Fran Brown is just playing to be competitive. He wants to go out there and make a statement and freaking win. This is the way that you do that, is by taking some risks and some chances. I feel like that is Syracuse's strength, is their offense, and Kyle McCord and all of the weapons that he has. 4th and 1, I want to see you going for it, man. I want to see you taking the risks that need to be taken. The other key that I would add to what you've already said is I think that stopping the run game is going to be a big deal here. That's one place where I think that these two teams are a little bit different. I was actually on a Miami podcast earlier this week, and it was brought up a lot that Miami has a lot of different running backs and threats that they use in their run game. Syracuse really doesn't. I feel like LaQuinn Allen is sort of that main pony. So that being said, I think that Syracuse has to figure out a way to stop the run game. And you brought this up in the last version of this podcast. There were a few plays in UConn where these running backs broke the doors wide open, and it was bad.
Yeah, listen, 4th and 1 against UConn, I get it. They fooled you. You didn't think they were doing that. You thought they were just going for the first down. But 4th and 1 against UConn, when that running back escapes, stays on his feet, goes for a 70-yard touchdown, you can't do that against Miami. I mean, you can't really do that against any team. That just is not fantastic. So the run defense, but what sticks out to me more as my other keys to this game for Syracuse to win defensively is the secondary needs to have their SHIT together, for lack of a better word, because Cam Ward is going to be looking downfield. Cam Ward is, take some notes out of Kyle McCord's playbook that you see in practice. Cam Ward is going to be looking to throw the ball to his receivers, and the secondary needs to be prepared for that. I'm a little worried about that, especially with the secondary that's missing some guys due to injury right now. Elijah Clark, Cinco, we did not see him play against UConn. We were told he'd be back this week. Hopefully he will be. Jaden Bellamy has been struggling with injury, etc. But what really sticks out to me defensively, even beyond the secondary, is the pass rush. Syracuse has struggled this year with that concept of pressuring quarterbacks. The pass rush, aside from some Fadil Dig moments, a few Marlowe Wax sacks, has not been what it can be. And I think if you're Syracuse and if you want a chance to win this game, you have to make Cam Ward feel uncomfortable in your building. If Cam Ward is back there with all the time in the world, assessing all of his options, if Cam Ward just is out there and he's got all the time he wants, Miami's going to win this game.
Time is money.
Yeah.
You cannot, I think, and it goes back to the risk taking. You need to play aggressive against a team like Miami if you have a chance to win. Show them something that they haven't seen, even in the film that they've been watching. Try a couple new and different things. I'd like to see that. I also think, of course, Miami is an offensive powerhouse. They're going to score. But to your point about the secondary, like, let's limit the big plays. I want to see Miami going down the field and it's a 10-plus play drive, not 2 plays and they're in the end zone.
You can't be fooled the way we've seen Syracuse's defense, both run defense and secondary, fooled a few times this year. Can't be fooled.
Like that touchdown, and I wish I remembered that running back's name right now. I apologize. I do not. Yes. But that was like legit like 60 or 70 yards. Like
70 yards.
It was 70 yards. And he was up. And if you really like rewatch that play, there were plenty of defenders there. Like he literally rolled, bounced off the pile, and then ran.
Yeah.
Come on, man. That's the kind of stuff that you just can't see in this game. But we know that Fran Brown is firing this team up in a different way than he has been.
I think as much as I said at the beginning, right, Syracuse kind of has nothing to lose. Miami has a lot to lose. Well, Fran Brown knows that. And we've seen Fran Brown's motivational tactics ahead of Georgia Tech this year. All season long, we've seen Fran Brown motivating this team. This is their chance to get a top 10 win, to play legitimate spoiler in terms of the ACC and college football playoff picture. Fran Brown knows these things, and I think he has them fired up all week. It's just a matter of, I mean, Miami has so much to lose here. they are not going to want Syracuse to be the team that ruins that.
One other thing I'll say, beyond just that fired up aspect, I felt like in the press conference this week, there was a different dynamic and tone, I should say, from Fran Brown than I've seen in those Monday press conferences before. Some of the time you're seeing that sort of revenge tour feel, or he's, throwing out little jabs and sort of motivating that way. When people had asked him, what do you want your team to get out of the Miami game? How do you feel about hosting a team that's so high caliber? He was like, we just want to go out there and have fun. When he told the fans to come, he's like, it's a day party. Go do the things you need to do earlier in the day. Men go get their haircut. Women do your makeup and then come to the day party and have fun. Very calm, very smiley. And that actually, if I was Miami, I'd feel scared.
No, I was just about to say that makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Fran Brown's like the snake in the weeds.
Yeah.
Like if Fran Brown's happy and he's acting, I don't.
Winners get washed. Have
want a
fun.
piece of that. I don't want over.
If you guys aren't watching on YouTube, the face that Ashley made during that dynamic was quite. You should probably go to YouTube.
A little bit as the thumbnail. No, but beyond that, right? And we're now I'm starting to get repetitive, but this is Syracuse's first chance this season, and we knew it was going to come down to Game 12, the last game of the season, to prove that they can at least run with the big boys, even if they don't win. If it's a close game, prove that you can run with them, that you're in the race. Because I am really sorry, the 3 losses this year, Stanford's terrible, Pitt was good, Boston College, but those are all ACC. Those are not teams that appear in the national conversation typically.
Correct.
This is Syracuse's chance to go out there with the team that has had the ACC in their grasp all year, aside from SMU, and make a national statement to some degree. It's just how the schedule worked out. They didn't have any of these other big boys in terms of ACC-wise or non-conference-wise on the schedule this year. This is the one. Show me you can at least run.
And I'll at least add to that. If the Hurricanes come to Syracuse and we have to call FEMA for recovery, that's just not good.
That's good, Rachel.
Let the local authorities handle it. That's all I'm saying.
Let Fran Brown handle it.
I preach. Enough said. No, I definitely agree with that, and I don't want to understate the recruiting part of this either.
Yeah.
Fran Brown is good like that at the podium. Like, people are asking him about the bowl game and the transfer portal, and he says, all I'm doing is focusing on Miami. Everyone kind of knows how that goes at this point. But I actually think that he could be focused on both at the same time, in the sense that if you win that game against Miami, you're increasing your recruiting stock just in doing that.
Yeah.
So he actually is going to simultaneously do both. Listen, Kyle McCord is Syracuse's present, and he was a present. We need to focus on Syracuse's future too, though.
Yes.
And that question remains to be answered as far as who could be the next quarterback. I'd be fine with somebody else coming out of the transfer portal. There's a lot of great guys in there. But I think that if they win a game against Miami and there is a 12-team college playoff, now all of a sudden it's like, hey, Syracuse isn't, like you said, one of the big boys, but they're growing.
But they truly were a win or two away from being in that conversation, and that's what Fran Brown can say in recruiting. And Mungro pointed this out when he was here. I'll restate it for him. But he said, look, we're not going to have Kyle McCord next season. We will see if the staff is sold enough on a Jakari Williams or a Michael Johnson Jr. to start them at quarterback next year. But if they're not, and they go out in the transfer portal, again, looking for a quarterback, this is an offense that you can surely sell to a transfer quarterback. I mean, it is not just Kyle McCord. This is a Jeff Nixon style of offense that likes to spread the ball around, that likes to pass, likes to be a pro-style offense, and likes to get a large number of receivers involved. Like, it is not just Rondé Gaston and Trevor Payne out there. You've seen 6-7 guys consistently catch passes for Syracuse this season, and that's appealing if you're a transfer quarterback. So we'll see. We'll see what they're able to do. Like I said, I think even if you give me a close game, even if you give me one score in the fourth quarter, overtime, comes down to an onside kick, that all matters to me. I'm not trying to have that loser mentality, but just give me a close game and you prove something to me.
The loser mentality. Can the Orange do it?
Can we do it?
We'll just have to see about all that.
We'll get some of Mungro's thoughts now, though.
Yes, that's right. All right, so we're going to clip it here, and you will see our predictions. You will hear from Mungro. and then we will come back and say goodbye to you.
To your point, Syracuse needs to have their best day on special teams too, which is something that we've seen them struggle with. If this is a game that ends up being close, that ends up coming down to the X's and O's, Syracuse does need to have their best day. I'm most concerned, I think, about the pass rush because that's something we've seen Syracuse struggle with this year. Fidel Diggs has had his moments. Even Marlo Wax getting around has had his moments to get to the quarterback. But you can't let Cam Ward have all the time in the world back there, because if Cam Ward has time, he's going to make magic happen, and that's just going to be the game for you.
I would agree with that. I mean, my biggest thing is tackling. If they tackle and, gang tackle, they have to tackle. If they tackle, they have a great opportunity to win the game.
I have a question for you and for some other old-time Syracuse fans who are listening. In terms of both quarterbacks being at this caliber, when is the last time at the Dome that we saw a matchup of Kyle McCord and Cam Ward-esque, two quarterbacks that could go on to have NFL careers?
Last time I'm going to date myself now. I'm thinking, McNabb.
Well, I was asking you to.
I appreciate it.
I was open to it.
For the record, you're not invited to Thanksgiving
No,
anymore.
I know. I was never
I got a free
invited to
plate for you.
Yep. You got to pay.
I would say McNabb and Vic. It's exciting like that to have two great quarterbacks like that.
Yeah.
I mean, when McNabb went against Vic, it was a great show, and it was unbelievable. So I picture something like that. But what I thought about with Syracuse as well, though, and I'm not trying to get off subject, but I felt like Syracuse put themselves in a great spot to get another good quarterback like Kyle. If you notice, we've spread the ball around so much. Any quarterback that has a decent arm would love to come to Syracuse and play quarterback at Syracuse because we have the receivers. We have, you got another guy, Gil, just broke out. We have different receivers and different skill positions that are there ready for the taking. Now we just need to get the ball to them. So, I'm throwing that out there now to any of the transfers out there. We need a quarterback next year.
Yeah, it's reflective of Kyle McCord, what they've been able to do on offense, but it's also reflective of Jeff Nixon. That's the way Jeff Nixon likes to run his offense, and he's had the weapons to do it this year. Of course, we'll see what happens with who's his quarterback next year, but I agree with you. If there's a transfer portal quarterback, it's certainly appealing. But we'll see what they do with the young guys.
I think they set themselves up in a very good position in that aspect.
And I do think when you think about this Miami game, that's the one other piece that I was really thinking about. You get a signature win like that early on, and all of a sudden there is more interest, and quarterbacks do want to come to Syracuse because, to Mungro's point, no one's going to sit here and say that an 8-win or a 9-win season wasn't a success. But honestly, it is in the back of my mind that a win to Stanford and a win to Boston College could have had me winning some money that I put down 10 weeks ago.
Like that?
I'm just saying.
Hey, it's not against our rules, which I don't know how. I've always really wondered how it's not against our rules because we know too much.
Right?
know?
No, but really,
what's your record this year?
Oh, in this? Terrible.
Horrific.
Terrible.
She shouldn't throw money down on anything.
No. But to be fair, this was a year. Did anybody have them losing to Stanford? I don't know.
Rachel, you got thoughts?
I've just honestly been enjoying listening to you guys talk. I think most of the things that I wanted to touch on, you guys have. I think, to put it simply, I think Syracuse has everything to gain and nothing to lose.
Playing with house money.
That's just how I feel.
Right.
I think that they can go into this game knowing all of the highs and all of the lows that they've put on the field this season and do their absolute best to capitalize off of a really cool opportunity that this is for the program in this city. And I'd love to see a win. We'd all love to see a win. Like you said, what that would mean going forward is just an absolute exclamation point on the season and the beginning of the Fran Brown era. But worst comes to worst, I'm happy if we just keep it close. That's what it comes down to. I don't want to see a blowout. We did Pittsburgh. That's over. I don't need to see a game like that again.
And Miami has everything to lose, right?
Everything.
Isn't that interesting?
Everything.
Syracuse has nothing to lose. Miami has everything to lose.
So they're going to
telling
come here and play their A game. Obviously they're going to come here and play their game, and obviously we would like to knock them off. It's kind of mixed feelings though a little bit. It's just a little bit mixed feelings because you want someone to represent in the college championship. Okay, you want a team to represent. So it's like who's going to represent for the ACC? I don't know if you guys think of that at all.
Oh, in the playoff, you mean?
Yes, in the playoff.
Well, I guess
yes.
it would end up being SMU, or Clemson would be in that ACC Championship game, but I don't really know if Clemson has the resume, so I guess it'd be SMU. But SMU feels a little foreign to ACC fans, right? Like, it's first year in the league.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
We don't quite accept them fully.
We don't really have you as one of our own yet.
SMU. No, I get it. And honestly, just to lay out some of the scenarios, because I do think this is interesting that Rachel included this. If Miami beats Syracuse, they'll play SMU in the ACC Championship Game. The Hurricanes would then move on to the college football playoff, probably with a first-round bye if they beat the Mustangs on December 7th. The winner of the ACC Championship Game would be the 3rd seed in the college football playoff. If Miami beats the Syracuse but loses to SMU, they might be left out of the CFP entirely, but it would be a close call. And then if Miami loses to Syracuse, it sends the now number 12 ranked Clemson Tigers to the conference title game. That would blow. I really don't want that to happen. Versus the number 9 SMU Mustangs, who have already clinched their spot no matter what happens this weekend. So yeah, Miami is the one with all the pressure.
Yeah.
Clemson's hanging around, SMU's hanging around, Syracuse is hanging around. That makes me feel like there's all of the pieces for an upset, which leads us to predictions, and I'm going to start. I think Syracuse can win this game. I had this feeling for like the past 4 days. I'm probably throwing down money again. I really, really think
Money.
I don't. It raises stakes for me. I don't know. I don't know. Like in the beginning of the week, I just had this feeling like all of the right pieces were there for a potential upset. When you think about Fran Brown and everything he's brought in the first year, I really like what Rachel said about the pressure. I didn't even think about that, but that's playing some sort of mental games.
He was able 2 weeks in a row. He was able to take a shower. I mean, it's going down right now.
I mean,
it's going down.
And yeah, right. Like beyond that, I mean, obviously Miami has momentum too. No, there's no doubt about that. But Syracuse has been playing better football the past few weeks. I feel like they are peaking at the right time, and I actually happen to think that Kyle McCord is the kind of guy who, Pitt aside, thrives under pressure. I think he likes to play in big arenas and feels comfortable doing so.
We're going to see at 3:30.
We sure are.
Do you know what someone raised to me this week that I just thought was an interesting point before you make your prediction? Are you going to give a score prediction?
Yeah.
Are you going to do scores? Okay.
Sure.
Most of the time, Syracuse playing in the Dome is an advantage, right? It's a better climate, it's warm weather, you don't have to sit out in the snow, whatever. But on a week like this, on week 12, last week of the college football season, you got Miami coming to town. If they did happen to play outdoors, that would be something to Syracuse's advantage, right? Miami not used to the cold weather. But I was like, don't say that because for our jobs, I'm glad we don't freeze.
I want to mention this too because we'll see now too afterwards. I wonder how many guys for Miami is going to cramp up. Miami, every time they come up, they have a problem of cramping. And we'll see what happens on that part too.
Okay.
See, we'll just. I mean, I know.
I'll be looking out for the cramps.
Maybe some dry air in the Dome. I'm not
If there's
sure.
a cramp, I'll be like,
crank
Mungro, call that.
I'm telling you, crank the heat up in the Dome a little bit. Those guys, it's a different type of heat.
Strategy.
We
Mongro's always thinking.
I
Always.
might call the Dome today from an anonymous number. Just say a couple things. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. How could it not be? I'm going to go with something like Syracuse wins 42-38.
Oh boy.
Like, and maybe it is like an overtime game, and that's how it gets to be that high. I feel like I've said that a few times.
Overtime would be
But I've said
thrilling.
overtime a few times, and there has been overtime a few times. Yeah, like 42-38, and in overtime, like Miami is forced to kick the field goal, which gets you to the 38 because they were at 35, and then Syracuse goes back down and scores a touchdown, so then they win 42-38.
you can go.
I agree that it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. I think it's going to come down to the two offenses because I don't think Miami has a sparkling defense, just like I don't think Syracuse has a sparkling defense. So I think these teams, while that sounds a little bit of outrageous, are kind of well-matched for this game. I think that it does come down to the fourth quarter. I just can't bet on Syracuse to win this game.
Okay.
I want to. Every part of me wants to, but I have not seen them be able to play, I feel like, the complete caliber of football that it requires to be the number 8 team in the country right now. I think Miami's going to be hungrier. I think that's a dangerous thing. I think Syracuse is going to be plenty hungry. I think Fran Brown's going to have these guys, this is their chance to kind of make up for the Stanfords and make up for the Pitts and the Boston College and put them on that national stage, play in a better bowl game. And they know that. But I mean, it is win or go home for Miami. I don't think Miami intends on losing in Syracuse, New York. So I think Miami is going to win this game. I think it's going to be close. I think they win by a touchdown. I think I'll go 35-28 Miami.
I was going to piggyback off you a little bit, but I said to myself, I'm going to go exactly the way I'm thinking. Unfortunately, I don't think Syracuse is going to win this game. I don't think so because I think Miami is very hungry and they're looking at something bigger and beyond than Syracuse. With saying that though as well, if they overlook us, that's how they get beat.
Yeah.
If they overlook us, that's how Miami gets beat. But I I don't see that happening. They're focused. They're very focused, and I know we're focused on getting this W, but I think they just have too many weapons and guys are too athletic, and our tackling hasn't been the greatest. And like I said before, the tackling I thought is going to be the biggest thing, biggest obstacle. So I think it'll be a shootout, but I don't think Syracuse is going to win.
Rachel?
I hope I'm wrong.
I'm now feeling like I'm in a precarious position because I can either side with Sam on this or make her the underdog completely. And I'm leaning towards making her the underdog completely. I agree with Mungro in the sense that it just, I don't know. It just something doesn't feel right about betting against Miami right now. And I'm hoping by saying that I cancel out that entirely.
I agree. I think it's worth pointing out, right? Miami is not your Clemsons of the world. They're not your Florida States of old of the world of the ACC. Miami's been trying to, as a program, put this together for a few years as well. I don't think they're going to want to let it slip away.
I don't think they're going to want to let it slip away, but we just don't always get what we want in this world.
That's
You're
true.
right about that.
We'll see. We will be here next week with you to break it all down. Otherwise, have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy
Happy
the time
Thanksgiving.
with your family or friends or at work.
Join me on CNY Central Thanksgiving Day.
Hey, yo, tune into CNY Central. We got some great content coming for you.
There's 3 football games I'll be watching.
Preach. So will we.
Yeah.
Other than that, you can find us anywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all social media at the Orange Zone Podcast. We'll see you back here next week, and we have really enjoyed covering Syracuse football with you.
Go SU.